Hello guys, welcome. So in this video I'll be discussing some like this is the thing I do in most of my videos, as you know, but still I wanted to make this video a separate video because I wanted to make a video. The first reason is, which might be a very silly reason, I acknowledge. And the second reason is that I recently turned 21. So I'm not going to share my exact the date of my birth, but it's in August. So I recently turned 21 and I was like, so 21 years old, it's nothing special. I mean, yeah, your time is going by. We all have birthdays and we all turn 21, 22, 23, and this is nothing special. But I realized that this is the 21st century and I turned 21. So it's like I have spent 21 years in the 21st century. And there is something special about it. There is actually nothing special about it from a logical point of view, but it sounds special. And I thought, okay, why not make a video about it? But of course, I'm not making this video just for the sake of making a video. I will be sharing some, I will try to share some important stuff in this video, which I have not shared previously. So I don't want to waste your time. And it's not like I just felt like recording a video, so I will just speak nonsense and waste the time of my viewers. No, that's not that. I do have some things to share as well. So let's say I take this 21 years as a 21 years in the 21st century, my 21st birthday, which was like, today is not my birthday. It's in August. It's in the first week. Like, uh, it's over. But I have this. I had the plan of this video from then only. But due to one thing and another, I was busy. And finally, today is the time I could, like finally make this video. I recently also dropped a video on 100 years of quantum mechanics. So I gave that priority actually. Both of these videos were on my list. So now is the time for this video. So yeah, 21 years is I should say, although many people say that you are still young, you don't understand this, you don't understand that, you are not, you still have a lot left in your life. That's true, but I think in a life when the average lifespan is, I think somewhat like 75 or 80 years, I think 20 years is like almost a quarter of your life, which is even more than a quarter in many cases. So which is, it's a significant amount of time. If you're 21 years old and if you yet have to figure out what you want and what you do not want, that means I think it's something you should worry about. 21 years old is not a time where you can like, oh, I'm just a young people, I have a lot of time to figure things out. Of course, nobody has it all figured out, not even someone who is 70 years old. You don't need to have it all figured out. That's what I believe anyway. But I think now is the time, we can I can actually we can introspect on our lives so far. And you know because like I always say, life is like at the end of the day, when you're on your deathbed maybe or something, like a time will come when you have to, when your entire life will flash in front of your eyes like a movie. So it's up to you to make sure that the movie is worth watching. Of course, you are not the only one who's in control of this movie. There are a lot of factors. Some lives are more harsh than others. Some lives face difficulties and something unfair which others are not even aware of. And I there is something called, I don't know if this is true or not, but it appears that there should be some providence or some justice in a way. Let me put it this way, especially with the things that are going on in the world around us. The claim that there is justice might sound very hollow and very like, there seems to be no justice at least. But I think on the long run, if I try to analyze these humans not from an individual, not from a humanistic point of view, I'm not saying that is not important, but right now I'm more interested in analyzing the system of humans, maybe from a objective or scientific, you could say offhand point of view. So then, some lives are obviously much more difficult than other lives. The people who are born in the road, who spend their life begging and whatever, you cannot make the claim that they will, a happy time will also come to in their life, because it's very in movies or in movies and TV shows, it's a different story. But in reality, if we're being honest with ourselves, it's like a vicious cycle. So people who are born poor, I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's very very difficult for them to reach, to become very rich. Maybe some people do improve even if born in a very poor household, but I'm saying people who are born in absolute poverty. I mean, they don't even have food to eat. Not like, maybe there are a lot of examples. People who are born in middle income family, they go and do a lot of great stuff. But at least their basic necessities were fulfilled. I mean, middle income families, they were not born rich, but they were not born absolute poor also. Consider my case. I'm also not from a very rich family, but I'm not, come from a middle income family, so I'm not that poor that I don't have get enough food to eat. Not that kind of poverty. So if you're being very honest with ourselves, people who are born in that kind of poverty, they don't even have enough food to eat. They don't even have a proper home or anything, house, proper shelter. It's very in reality, it's very difficult for them to do something great in life or break free from that cycle. They will maybe improve a bit or not, but So in that case, then my question would be, if you really claim that there is justice, so where is justice then? That person didn't choose to. It's not like I purchased a ticket to go to that airport and you purchased a ticket to go to that airport. It's not our choice. Life is like, there was a famous quote, I don't remember who said this or where I read about it, but so I'm kind of saying this without proper credit, giving proper credit. So it maybe I don't know if this is the right thing to do, but I can't help but say it. It says that life is like, you suddenly wake up in a train and you don't remember ever purchasing a ticket for the train, you don't remember ever boarding the train, and you didn't ask for it, you didn't sign up for this, but you just wake up and see that you're in the train and you're in a journey, you don't know where you're going, you don't even know what the next station is. That is life. None of us signed up for this, none of us asked for life, none of us signed any form and like chose our place of birth, our the family will be born into, how we'll be born into, whether we'll be born rich or poor, none of us chose this stuff. So then, even after all of these things, if you claim that there is fairness, there is justice, then can you really explain what crime did that person do who is born in a very poor household, and what extra good thing we or even more rich people they did? See, if you say that there is this concept of reincarnation, previous birth, past life, and all, that's not unscientific concept. I don't want even want to argue with you. That those are, yeah, some religions do believe, but I'm not talking religion. I'm talking science and logic, right? So if there is no past life, if there is no future life, we all have only one life, then logically it seems it's pure chance. It's pure chance that determines whether I'll be born poor or I'll be born rich. So that doesn't seem like justice to me. If a rich guy kills someone uh, in a car accident, then he has the money to hush the authorities up, no punishment. If a poor driver does that, he will be in prison. Where is the justice? That the poor driver didn't like, what was his crime that he was born poor? Right, getting my point. So all of these questions, sometimes these questions come to my mind, and I've been thinking about this not for 21 years, because of course when I for the first 5 or 6 years of my life, of course I was not thinking about these things. I was a like very small kid like you all, but at least for the last few years I have been thinking about these questions, and of course I have there is no answer as such. That is when people turn to religion, people turn to spirituality. When logic and science cannot give you the answers, or the best answer that science can give you is it's pure chance, it's pure randomness. Even Einstein had difficulty accepting that God plays dice with the universe. So that is when people turn to religion and spirituality, and like they find solace in that, they find peace in that. Even religion has there's a theory that religion, it's an instinct in us, it's an evolutionary instinct. There could be a scientific explanation of why people believe in God, or not specifically God, but about these religious tendencies. I'm saying in general, because humans used to live in groups, small groups, in the very early days, like when we used to live in the jungles and hunt and eat animals and all that. Very early humans, the stone man, or hunter gatherers, that period of time. So slowly humans started living in groups because that would give them a better chance of survival. If it's a group of 10 humans fighting a mammoth or an ancient creature in the jungle, they would have a better chance of survival than if it's a single human. So humans started living in group, and obviously these groups gradually a hierarchy developed. Then group had a group leader. He would say what to do and what not to do. So now humans were also intelligent creatures, right? So humans were learning, looking at the world around them, asking questions. So humans had this curiosity, asking questions. This thing was there in humans, right? It was developed. Was this thing was developing in humans? Now humans, they had two options basically. One is actually not two options. They should maintain a balance, because if they stopped asking questions, they could not develop. From hunter gatherers to agriculture, then settling, then industrial revolution, technology, and then today, this development would not have been possible if humans absolutely asked no questions. On the other hand, if humans started asking too many questions, then the possibility that a group member would clash with the group leader, that possibility would increase. And if that happens, then the group leader would exclude that member from the group. So that member would essentially be isolated. And if you're isolated in a jungle where full of dangerous creatures and all, you are just a hunter gatherer, you don't have any weapons with you, maybe a stick or a stones or something, then that would affect your chance of survival. So there was also this need of an instinct of following your leader unquestioningly. Right. So no, I have to follow my group leader, because unconsciously you are like, no, I cannot afford to get excluded from this, get separated from this group. I cannot survive alone in this jungle. So that kind of that feeling, that was probably, this is a theory. It's not like that's probably that was the development of this nature of humans of following someone unquestioningly. not logically, because yeah, many times it could be possible that the group leader takes the wrong decision, but still he's the leader, that's why you have to follow him or her, whatever. Same for God. We don't have any logic for believing in God, but yeah, we find many of us, some of us are atheists, even I'm an atheist, but even I'm actually, to be honest, agnostic, or I would say I'm more inclined towards atheism. Actually, I personally think that spending too much time on this question, that does God exist, it's a waste of time, because we don't have enough data in our hands to scientifically and logically study the question. So we cannot ever get a good answer. So then spending time on this question is like philosophy, just talking philosophy, talking like opinions. It's not, it's a waste of time. We can go on discussing does God exist for the entire night, but that will not give us any definite answer. So I think it's better to stop us spending time on this question and focus on more scientific, more relevant questions, that we have the framework, or we at least have the hope of developing the frameworks to study, right? So, but anyway, but still, personally, I would say even after that, I would say I'm a bit more inclined towards atheism, because I think whatever we cannot explain, just, of course, there may be some things in science which are unknowables, not unknowns, but unknowables. We cannot ever know them, like historical accidents. I have given this example in many of my talks, and I think YouTube videos also, if I remember right. So why is the solar system has 8 planets? I think Pluto is no longer a planet. So why the 8 planets orbit the sun in the same direction? It could be possible that one planet is orbiting counterclockwise, one planet is orbiting clockwise. That does not violate Newton's laws or any laws of physics, to be honest. So then why not? The reason is the solar system, as far as we know today, it formed out of a rotating disk of gas. Like there was a rotating disk of gas, cloud of gas, and then from there the planets and sun materialized. And since it was rotating in the same direction, the planets that formed were started rotating all in the same direction. But that was a historical accident. There is no scientific explanation for this. Now, if I ask you why the solar system formed out of a rotating gas, it could have formed in some other way also. You cannot. It happened. It's possible, of course, but you cannot explain why our solar system exactly, formed that way. So we can explain what happened, but not always. We can even explain how it happened, but why it happened is not always a question that science can answer. See, suppose there is a star, maybe let's say our sun. So say one planet was moving like this, and one planet was moving like this. So as they come near the vicinity of the star, if the other conditions are satisfied, then the planet that is moving like this would start orbiting in this direction, and the planet that is moving like this would start orbiting in this direction. So in a star system, it is entirely possible that the two planets orbit the sun or the star in opposite directions. If the star system formed like this, the planets are coming from arbitrary directions. But in our solar system, since it formed from a rotating cloud of gas, it's the same direction. So this is an explanation in a way. We know why the planets in the solar system all move in the same direction. So explanation means we know how or what actually happened before the formation of the solar system, but we don't know why. Means, yeah, you ask me why the all the planets in the solar system move like this. I give you the answer, because it formed out of a rotating disk of gas. In a way, it's an answer. It answers the why. But then if you ask me why our solar system formed out of a disk of rotating gas, I mean, there were a lot of other possible scenarios in which a star system could have formed, but in our case, why not? I mean, why did the example I gave you, like this one, why that did not happen in our solar system? You could give some answer, because I mean, anyway, this is not even a valid question. To some people would argue, because see, there are maybe 10 possibilities, and there are millions of star systems in the universe. So there are other star systems which formed like that. So you cannot ask a question like why not our, because I mean, something needs to happen. Now, see, if there are 10 possibilities and say let's say 10 systems, very idealized scenario, then each possibility will happen in each system. Now we cannot ask why possibility 9 occurred in system 7 and not in system 6. That question makes no sense, because that would also have been possible. So the point I'm saying is it all comes down to randomness and chance at some point. We have laws, deterministic laws of physics. Not all laws are deterministic. Quantum mechanics, the measurement is not deterministic as far as we know. But I mean, we do have definite laws of physics that answers what, how, even why to some extent. But if we ask the ultimate question, why our universe is like this and not like that, after a point you have to answer. Your answer will be like science cannot really derive it or something. It's because it happened. You have to accept it at that. So that's what I mean by unknowable. But I don't believe we should resort to God, like, oh, it happened because God wanted it to. That gives rise to more questions than it answers. Then who is God? What is God? Why did he want? What is? So I think it's better not to resort to the ultimate explanation of God, and that's why I lean more towards atheism. though I cannot prove, and I will not even try to prove that God does not exist, because I think that's a waste of time. We don't have enough data in our hand to scientifically either prove or disprove the existence of God. So let's not think about it. But why I brought up God is, yeah, that is the reason. I told you the theory of religion, right? So people had this need of following someone unquestioningly. There was one more reason. In the early days when humans lived in jungles and all, they looked like they didn't understand science at that time. Like the earth is revolving around the sun, the weather, why the day and night, earth is rotating. All these things they didn't know. No, right? So every day they saw that it was light, it was all day, and then suddenly it was evening, like it was dark. So the first explanation that would come to the mind of them, because they didn't have any idea, any notion of science. So if you were just try to imagine, what would you have thought if you just it's light, suddenly it's dark, and this is happening regularly, like night, day, night, day, night, day, night. So initially they thought like it became dark when God became angry, because since we don't know science, we don't know how to explain stuff. Let's just assume that someone else is doing all these things. That is the simplest explanation, because that saves you from finding an explanation yourself. You're like, oh, God is doing this, that's all, and you're done. So God, right? So basically they believe that there is some God. They believed sorry So they believed that when God became angry, then it was dark. So what they did, they started praying to God for the entire night, right? And then they saw that, okay, in the morning there was this sun was again rising. So they thought that our prayers have worked, God has listened to our prayers, and he has his anger has subsided, and he again it's light. Again God gets angry, it's dark. And this was what they used to believe initially. And then all of these feelings, here today we know that it's not the case. We know science and all, but some of these instincts have remained in our blood. It's an evolutionary, like, you understand, right? So that's why we humans have a even I, although I lean towards atheism and all, when I am very depressed and stuff, sometimes even I find peace in the idea of, like, I don't really believe in God even during these dark periods of time in my life. But I can understand why some people believe in God, because if I think about some greater being who is looking over me, that gives me a different kind of peace. So maybe that's why people believe in God. Now the point is, so yeah, let me come back to the central question of this video. So then, what is justice? Some people are born poor, and it's usually a vicious cycle. If you say that, I was having a discussion with one of my friends about this, and she said that, you know, I cannot prove that there is justice, but still, the people who do crimes, who commit crimes, they're not really happy. Maybe if they're rich, they can get away from law, like they are not in prison, but they're not really happy inwardly. They have a lot of tension, they have a lot of conscience. Now, I really don't believe that some of the crimes that happen, the criminals, I don't believe they have the ability to feel guilt or conscience. They are not human, they're inhuman. A human cannot commit this kind of brutal crimes which are happening. I mean, it could be anything. It could be murder, it could be rape, it could be or even like mental torture, physical, the crimes that are happening all over the world, in my country also. I mean, I don't want to take any specific case, but in some of the cases, I don't really believe that the criminal is like there can be any excuse for the crime. And I don't believe, by looking at the nature of the crime, that these kind of criminals, they have the ability to feel any kind of guilt or remorse or conscience. I don't believe that. They're kind of I should say, I don't see. I'm not a psychologist, or I'm not a criminal psychologist or anything. I don't know why they do it. Either they're like they are totally mad or something, like insane. But personally, I think just saying that he did it because he or she did that because they did that because they are mad is like covering up for them. It cannot be an excuse. If you take the life of someone, if you commit a murder, and then your excuse is, oh, I'm mad, I'm not a normal human being, I'm mad, that's why I did it. That cannot be an excuse. If you're indeed as insane, I mean, if you're indeed mad to such an extent that you can commit these crimes, then you have no right to live, because you are a threat to society. So I don't think saying these things like he was mad, he was mentally disturbed, that's why he committed. I don't believe in. I think that's covering up for the criminal. That's not true. But then the question is, if there is indeed justice, and most of the cases justice is not served. Now you will say that, I mean, not you. I mean, I don't know about you, but some people will say that. I have heard some people say this. I don't know if this is a very common mindset or not, but at least in my experience, I've heard a lot of people claim this, that the criminals, they're not really happy at mind. So in a way, justice is getting served. Maybe they're not in. Maybe not all of them are in jail. Maybe some of them are apparently living a good life, but they are not in peace at mind. And the victim, they also slowly get used to it. So maybe after 10 years after the crime, they are also happy. So ultimately, on average, every human feels positive emotions for 50% of the life and feels negative emotions for the other 50% of the life. This is the claim. This is some people think. And yeah, that actually makes sense from a statistical physics point of view, or from in general from a logical point of view. That's how it should be, right? Now, of course, the intensity and the duration that matters. I mean, it's not like I can predict that that particular human, he will feel happy for the first 50% of his life and sad for the next. It's not like that. It's a cycle of happiness and sadness. And what duration, what intensity, that varies from person to person, from situation to situation, from context to context. But on average, it's like 50. There is a claim some people make, and yeah, it makes sense. It's a very appealing kind of hypothesis. But my experience says otherwise. I'm not sure, because but uh, many people die untimely death, right? So let me tell you my logic. Suppose if I am suppose if might sound very dark, but suppose if tomorrow I go out on the road and I am murdered. Now I have no intention of dying right now, like today or tomorrow or anytime soon. I have no intention of dying. So if suppose tomorrow someone murders me, then according to this claim, I have felt happy. Then my life will end at 21. Fine. So according to this claim, I have felt happy for 50% of my life, and I have felt sad for 50% of my life. According to this claim. Now I don't want to analyze whether I have been happy or sad for this past 21 years, but but if you make this claim, that means I will die on tomorrow. Tomorrow is, I don't know. It's like uh, uh, anyway. So this the fact that I will die in August 2025. That means this was predetermined when I was born, according to this claim. And so, since this was already known when I was born, that's why my life evolved in such a way that in these 21 years, I felt 50% happy, 50% sad. This is the claim. It doesn't make sense scientifically, does it? Because if you say that it was already predicted when I was born that that somebody would murder me in August 2025, that means you are going against all the known laws of physics. You are claiming that everything is deterministic, quantum uncertainty, leave alone quantum uncertainty. But we cannot even predict the weather properly, and you are saying that all the actions of all the humans involved in my life, the one who will supposedly murder me, everything was predetermined. That doesn't make sense. And if you say it's not predetermined, then how did my life know that I have to feel 50, that it has to maintain this 50% happiness, 50% sadness within 21 years? For that, it has to know that I will die in 21 years. Otherwise, it's not possible. So I think it's not true. I think, yeah, if you say that on average, if I look at the entire human race, then 50% of humans are happy and 50% of humans are sad at any given point in time. If you make this claim, I won't believe it, but I think this claim is more easier to believe, more logical than the claim I right now made. Like the claim that that every human feels 50% of the time of his life happy and 50% sad. This claim is absurd. Now, if you look at the entire human race and claim that, okay, the entire human race, there is this averaging effect, 50% positive, negative, that could be true. But even if that is true, let me tell you, it's still possible that one particular human feels sad for most of his life, one particular human is wronged, tortured for most of his life, and he dies a defeated man, but it is not his fault. And one particular human is gets unfair advantage for most of his life, is happy for most of his life. That's possible. Individually, this need not hold this 50-50 law, this law of average, law of whatever you want to call it. Over for the entire human race, this law may hold, but that doesn't really prove that every individual life gets justice. That means you have to assume, you have to admit that individually human life is not fair. You have to admit it. It's up to chance. It's up to chance which family I will be born into. It's totally up to chance whether I'll be born poor or rich. It's totally up to chance whether I'll die tomorrow or not, and everything is up to chance. So in a way, God plays dice with our life. That is the only possible logical conclusion. Understand my point? So this is the conclusion of the 21 years in the 21st century. So for in my life so far, I'm 21 years old. This is the conclusion that I have formed. This conclusion might slightly change in the future. Like you guys say, some of you say that I still have a lot of life in front of me, and maybe a lot of experiences that are awaiting me, good and bad, both good and bad. But I mean, in these 21 years, I have learned a lot, I would say. Not only just technical, this physics and everything, but I have actually learned a lot. And one of the most important things I learned is that there are a lot of important things I learned actually. And I keep sharing this stuff in most of my videos, in previous videos also. So in every video, if I make this claim, one of the most important things I learned, that means I will have out of 20 life lessons, 19 would be most important. That defeats the meaning of the word most important. So I should not say it like that. But still, one of the very important thing I have learned, and I would maybe I have shared something along similar lines in my previous videos also, but in this video also let me reiterate it in a slightly different way. It's that there is no justice in this world individually. Overall, the entire race of human, there could be some averaging effects, could be, I don't know. I've never analyzed, nobody has analyzed the entire human race from a third person perspective. But individually, there seems to be no justice. Now, this might sound to be a very pessimistic claim, very, I don't know, pessimistic claim, nihilistic claim, whatever you want to call it. But things that have been happening all throughout history, I don't only mean the recent, yeah, recently there has been, I think in my opinion, although I'm not an historian or not an expert, but look at what happened in World War II, the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. I mean, I was born on the. I actually told you my birthday unknowingly, just unconsciously slipped. Yeah, I was born on Hiroshima Day on 6th August. So and then on 9th August we had the Nagasaki bombing. So all these atrocities, I mean, all this barbarity, all this Holocaust, Nazi, the concentration camps. This is past. Throughout, even before that, the rulers and all the slavery and all this, there were many cruel practices, cruel and dirty practices. Today also, like, you can understand these wars, these crimes, these murders, rapes, and whatever, this is happening, right? So I mean, when I look at all of this, and even then some people are claiming, no, there is God, there is justice, there is, so I think there is no justice. I think our lives are entirely up to chance, up to, I may die tomorrow. So then if somebody says that no, Arpan was a good person, he didn't, why did he have to die? There's no, this is not a valid question. Everything is up to chance. I might, it's just, I'm not saying my death was predetermined, but everything is up to chance. Good persons can die, bad persons can get away with their crimes, anything can happen. This sounds very dark, but I mean, so far, based on whatever I've been seeing and hearing about, I think this is what this is what I believe actually, based on all these experiences. I mean, some of you will say that you are too young, but I think all these people who bring in religion and all this, like, no, this is it's not true. Overall, there is a greater power, God, providence, justice. To me, this is just a way to cover up the real barbarity, real hopelessness in the world with a sugarcoating kind of religious. Because fundamentally, if I'm being very honest, then there seems to be no justice in the world. I won't say there seems to be no justice left in the world, because I have not lived 100 years back. I cannot claim that the situation 100 years back was actually better. In some ways better, yeah, but in some ways even worse than us. So I won't make the, some people always say that we are living in a very dark time, very pessimistic time. Our ancestors were well off, oh my god, humanity is losing, humanity is degrading day by day. I would say humanity has definitely degraded, and there is no hope in the world. There is no justice in the world. I agree with that. But whether the situation has deteriorated from the past, I'm not so sure, because see, we have not lived in the past. We have only heard about the past in history books and all this, from maybe from our grandfathers or something, grandparents or something. But how can we be really sure that during the time of the all these great epidemics of the past, or during the time of World War II, then also a lot of crimes were happening. I mean, apart from the war, also individual level, there was a lot of injustice was going on in the world. So how can we be sure that life was actually better than it is now? You cannot be sure. Yeah, I understand. Today also there is a lot of unacceptable things going on, a lot of instability in the world, political instability, religious instability, social instability, and very, like, kind of this kind of thing. But I think we don't have this, we cannot claim always that we are actually worse off than our ancestors, but we can definitely claim that we are not living a very, like, idealistic kind of life, and everything is up to chance. It seems that that's what it seems. I know it might sound negative, some of you will not agree with me, will take it the wrong way, but still, let me say this: it seems there is no justice in this world. So it's all up to chance. See, you are a good human being, you have not done harm to anyone, that will not ensure that nothing, no harm will befall you. Of course, I'm not saying that means we should just stop caring about anything. We should stop trying to grow in life, and we should just sit and say, oh, everything is meaningless, everything is up to chance, oh my god. That's not what I'm saying. You should always try to, that's what we all do. We should always try to grow without causing harm to anyone else. Grow. We should all try to grow without causing harm to anyone else, and we should all try to do what we love, find our passion, find something to live for. We should all try to do that. But at the same time, that doesn't prove that our life is meaningful and there is justice in the world. The only way you can convince me that there is justice in the world is that you have to prove that whatever will happen in my life, how will I die and everything, this was predetermined before my birth. You have to prove it logically and scientifically that everything was predetermined. If you can prove it, then I will consider the possibility that no, there indeed is justice or this 50-50 argument. And you also have to prove that there are past lives, there are future lives. Then you can claim that, oh, maybe it appears that he is a good person, but still he had to endure so much suffering, maybe because he did something bad in his past life. First you have to prove that, and by proof I mean scientific proof, not any religious scriptures or anything. So yeah, and one more important realization is that nobody cares about you. That's not a bad thing, but it's that's not necessarily a bad thing. But again, that's not a very positive thing also, because of we humans, we have this inherent tendency to believe that someone cares. Why? Because we are social creatures. We need to stay together. We need to stay together. That is what has been built in our systems, our blood. That feeling. And then there is this evolutionary need for reproduction. So for reproduction, we need to two humans need to come together. And unlike animals reproduce and just go away. Most animals, not all. I'm not sure about all the details. I'm not a biologist, or I don't study animals. But I think many animals do this. They just when during the time of the season, the mating season, they reproduce and then they go away. Because most animals, the animal babies, they are born hardwired. Like, they are already born with all the important instincts they need to survive in their climate. Like, polar bears can only survive in the cold. If you bring it to the hot, it cannot adapt. Like, there are some and most animals are like specific to their climates, right? Camels are built for the desert. So once an animal baby is born, it doesn't need a prolonged care from both of its parents to survive. It's born, so it can just, maybe initial few weeks the mother takes care, and then it can just survive on its own in the wild. So there is no evolutionary requirement for the parents, for the mother and the father, to stay together in case of animals. Most animals, I think. For humans, on the other hand, since we are born in a live condition, humans can adapt anywhere. If I was born in a pretty hot weather, like not very cold weather in India. But if I from the very birth, if I was shifted to a country like, let's say, Norway or something, which is a very cold country, I would have adapted. But a polar bear, if you bring it in this kind of weather, it will die. That is the thing about humans. But humans need a prolonged care. A human baby, it's not like you. It needs a very good attention and care for the first few years. Only then it can develop normally. Actually, if you consider the psychological aspects, a human baby needs care not only for the first few years, but till he is an adult, for the first 18 years actually. Even after he's an adult, I mean, humans are very sensitive. If someone tells, if someone hurts you, have you ever heard that a dog is crying because of a breakup? His dog's girlfriend broke up with him and that's why he's crying. Have you heard? You're not heard, right? Humans, we do this all the time. Most humans, at least. Like, so we are very sensitive to relationships, be it breakups, be it any kind of conflict with our friends, with our parents, with other humans in general. If someone tells something bad about us, we are very, animals are not very sensitive, and they are not this much developed also cognitively. So that means humans need much prolonged care and attention and supervision of their parents. And how to ensure that? Evolutionary. So evolution created this feeling inside us, what we call love. So I believe animals don't feel love the way we do. Animals don't, don't feel the need of just staying with one partner for the entire life, what we call marriage. And because there was no evolution requirement. Of course, humans, the poets and the ones who are religious, they will have different interpretations. They will say that love is the most important thing in the world and this and that. But from a scientific point of view, love is nothing but some, on one interpretation is just chemical reactions in the brain. That is the description of love. But the origins of love, I think, is because human babies need prolonged care. So there's a requirement for the parents to stay together so that they can take care of the baby. Nothing more than that. But yet, since we are emotional creatures, social creatures, and we are so sensitive, we humans always, we have this. We want to believe that they care for us. You meet a friend in college and you are like, maybe for 2 or 3 months they talk with you. Maybe when one day you are a little sick in college and they take care of you. They're just doing it because they feel it's their responsibility. Or this is normal. I mean, if you feel a little bit sick in college, and if someone like accompanies you to the college like sick room, the college hospital, then they're not then that is not a proof that they cared about you. I mean, of course, they don't they are not your enemies, they are your classmate, but that is not a proof that they are that special someone in your life. But we humans often, we unconsciously we form these feelings. No, that this is just a chance, it could be anyone else also. So we always want to believe that people care for us, but we don't care for other people, and they also don't care for us. So both parties end up getting hurt in most cases. This is my realization. I'm telling you, it's not like on the, like, they don't care about us, but we care about them. It's not actually that. At the end of the day, even we don't care about them, but we want them to care. And same story there also. They also don't care about us, but they want us to care. And the end of the day, what happens? It's a lose-lose situation, not a win-win situation. It's a lose-lose situation. They also end up, in most cases, there are exceptions, of course, but the usual trend I'm talking about, in most cases, both parties are disappointed. So whose fault it is? I would say it's not a question of fault, but it's how it is. But still, if you want to talk about it from that point of view, then it's both fault. Both are at fault. Because see, if someone does, suppose in my experience, this has happened once or twice. I have helped a lot of people, more than I should have, more than I was, more than needed to do. Like, it's if one of my classmates asks me for notes before the exam, I was absent, give me some notes. I always gave them notes. So that is not really helping. That is a basic, like, that is not what I mean by helping. I've done that for many people, and I don't claim to be a super helpful person because of that. Because we are all we are all studying in the same college. We are classmates. If you want some notes from me, you were absent in college, maybe you were sick or you went to travel somewhere, and I don't give the notes, then that, of course, I can give you the notes. That doesn't mean I cared about you. I think you are my friend, but that doesn't also mean like that's not being really helpful. That is ordinary. That's expected. If someone refuses to give you notes, that means that person is very super selfish. Okay. uh, but in some other cases, I helped some person, like, I gave them more time than I should have, because time is precious to me. Notes, you take my notes, you get more, you score better in the exams than me. You do whatever, superficially you become more successful than me. I don't care, but my time is very important. If I realize that I, for the last 1 week, or maybe even if it's 1 week, then also it becomes very difficult for me to accept that. But in this case example, I'm giving it without giving any taking any specific names, because if some of my college mates are watching the video, if I take names, they will understand. Not that I care, but that would just like create a few more conflicts which I'm not ready for, because that was just a waste of my time. But anyway, in this case, it went on for, I think, 2 months or something. So for 2 months, I gave my time to someone, one of my college mates, classmates, batchmates. I give time to someone. Time meaning, like, apparently they were very depressed, and I consoled. I don't want to use the word console, but I talked to them, listened to them, and I was there for them. Not just sharing notes. I also shared notes. That's also true. And I realized it was this kind of exploiting, using, whatever you want to call it. I don't know exactly, but at least I'm sure that it was not a genuine relationship from their side, and it's not a genuine. You know what I'm talking about. So what was my intent? What was my next course of action? Some people in my place would have, felt very sad, felt like, this was not really a love kind of thing. So I won't use the word breakup, but I started thinking that, maybe that person is my. After all, at last I've got a friend who understands me, because initially they also, I won't take pronouns. Initially they also showed some affection, tried, pretended to show some affection and feeling a care for me. You know. Then when I realized all of this, I was like, okay, cool. Let me experiment with some more of my classmates, some more humans, actually, to be honest. So then I became friendly with another person in my class. I don't want to take names. Helped a lot. Helped them a lot. No pronouns again. Helped helped them a lot. And this time the story ended a little differently. It's like, it's not. It was not. This person turned out to be actually better than the previous one, but not. But still, there was a lot of not foul play. There was a lot of. The first one was a pure case of like manipulation, and on the outside very sweet and very, like, appears to care for you, but it's just a manipulation. Second one is no intention of manipulation from that side. This person is very good, very genuine, but also doesn't have the ability to understand you, and is unwilling to even, not just ability, is unwilling to understand you, and justifies each and every of their views under the term self-respect, which I believe is actually nothing but ego and unjustified ego. So when, if some people are ready to forget whatever help you did them, yeah, I never helped someone in a way that that harmed myself. I have never, like, like, I've never helped someone in a way that I myself am getting harmed, getting affected, and they are doing better than me. No, I'm still doing better than them. And let me tell you, not you, if any of the relevant parties are watching the video, This is a very bad strategy if you want to lose me. I'm not saying I'm unstoppable or anything. I'm not. I don't want to sound like a hero or anything. But it's a very bad strategy to, because I'm not even competing with you. Even by the standards set by society, I am so far I am above you. But even in the future, if I slip below for a temporary period, I have this belief in myself that I always have the power to pull back. But even for a temporary period of time, I fall below in some of the social, the standards set by society to measure success. See, I'm not even competing with you in the first place. I've told this in some of my previous videos as well. In the true sense, I see myself as my only competitor. I'm not really interested in competing with you on this so-called rat race. And by rat race, even research today has become kind of like a rat race. You just need good networking. You just need to please your supervisor, and you just need to publish a lot of papers, lot of technical jargon. Fundamental contribution to real science, zero. That is what I have tried to do. Look at my CV. The kind of hypothesis papers I'm publishing, not all of them are really scientific papers, but I have done a lot of original work without any supervision, like without any in an institute official supervisor internship. No, original work. Okay, and even internships, I've done two internships from very reputed institutes in India. So the point, I'm not bragging again, but I just got a little angry when I was I should say when I was recounting all these incidents. Not angry, a bit maybe defiant, which is not good, because why should I be justifying myself? I don't even need to say all of this. I am doing what I see fit, what I think is right. You do what you think is right, and we'll meet on the other side, and we'll see who emerges victorious in the conventional sense of the word. Because again, I'm not really, in the true sense, I'm not really competing with you in the first place, or with the system in the first place. I just need to ensure that I have the bare minimums to scrape through. I have the bare minimums to survive, because I need some money and I need some food and anything. Otherwise, I'm not really after a so-called successful academic life where I have a PhD. Where, of course, I will maybe have to do a PhD, but again, I don't think PhD is a very good. The PhD system has its flaws. Again, that's a topic for another video. But I don't really that conventional path, PhD and then a professor and then I have a lot of publications. No, that's because there are a lot of. That's a very respectable pathway. I mean, I think that's better than pursuing other like that's better than corporate life. I think, in my opinion. But even then, that's not really unique. A lot of people are doing that. In these 21 years, what is something I'm proud of? Not because of I have done so much independent work. That's something to be proud of. I mean, that's a good thing. That's an achievement, but not that. Not that I've done two internships in two very reputed Indian institutes, when not all of my so-called rivals, the ones who challenged me, they did. Not because I initially my scores in exams in college was very poor. I even got an ADR. That means I had to take a paper twice. But in the end, I managed to cross 8 CGPA, with very few people in my batch, in my class, managed to do. Not because I have a YouTube channel with 1K subscribers. Not because a lot of people praise me. Not because I have founded my own journal. Okay, this thing I'm a bit proud, because founding my own journal, and right now it's the Journal of Young Physicists. Right now, a lot of people are submitting their articles. At least I am providing a platform to young students to publish their article. This is something which is unique. You can find us many so-called talented PhD students with a lot of papers today, but you cannot find. But this is, I think, rare. But probably the thing I'm most proud of about myself is probably this thing. I think the camera is inverted, so maybe you are seeing it the other way around. But yeah, this is the book I wrote, Our Physics So Far. It's a just if I can just show you, it's a 360-page book. I don't know if you can. Of course, you are seeing it the wrong way, I think, because of the camera and everything. But yeah, just to give you a the point is, I wrote this book when I was only 16 years old. I started writing it when I was 15 years old, actually, when I was in my class, high school, still in my high school, and let me tell you, if I even when I myself read the book now, it's like I realize that some part could be better than the other parts. But the thing is that yeah, at 15 years I was not a pro writer. Even today I'm not a pro writer. I'm not an. I try still. I have this maintained this habit of writing. So I've improved from 15 years from then. But so this book is not perfect. And it's not. Of course, it's nowhere near a very good popular science book. But at least it's a documented record of my attempts to answer the big questions. Because this is a book. The book is called Our Physics So Far: A Journey Through Space-Time, Consciousness, and the Nature of Reality, Fundamental Nature of Reality. So most of the popular science books that I have read, they are either they focus on physics or they focus on neuroscience or like it's very rare to find a book which focuses on space time, which means physics, consciousness, as well as fundamental nature of reality, all in a single book. That is the reason I decided to write the book, because if it's a book that already exists in the market, it's no good writing a similar kind of book, because I'm not a celebrity. So why would people decide to read my book when similar books by much more qualified authors are already available in the market? So that was the unique point of my book. And I always tried to merge things and find a ultimate explanation, not just become an expert and learn some technical jargon and like appear impressive to my peers, and not that kind of thing. Many people told me that if you decide what you want to do in life, physics or consciousness. For consciousness, you have to no you have to study. That's the system in India as well. In outside India, I know there are a lot of programs where physics and neuroscience, they're all together. Research go hand in hand. Interdisciplinary thrust is there. In India, it's still not there in most places. In some places, it's growing. In Institute of Mathematical Sciences, Chennai, where I went to do my last internship at computational biology and theoretical physics, there is a separate department in computational biology, and very good work is also being done there. It's very rare in India, but it's slowly growing. But anyway, what I had to hear was that if you want to study consciousness, either you just become a philosopher, it's no good, or some people told that you need to do medical science and then you become a neurosurgeon or learn neuroscientist and everything. But I don't. But or else you choose physics and everything. Even then many people said that, no, don't choose physics because there is not much money, not much self-respect. Apparently many uneducated Indian parents, they have this mindset that becoming an engineer or a doctor are the only two respectable professions in the world. Physicist is not at all respectable. I don't blame them, because in India the way PhD students are treated, the amount of money they're given, the financial support they're given, the mental support they are given, the abuse they had to, most of them have to endure from their supervisors and from society as well. Oh, you are doing a PhD, that means you are still a slave, you are still a student. In Europe and the rest of the world, most developed countries, PhD is like a job. It's actually like an actual job. PhD students get all the facilities and a good amount of money also, stipend also. In India, PhD is not on pen and paper. Maybe it's like a job, but it's more like a student. You are like a student. Oh my God, you are doing a PhD. Okay, so how many more years will do this? So what will you do in life? What after PhD? What you will do? Oh, professor. Oh, even in India, if you are a good student, you have no hope of getting selected as a professor in a good institute. Your chances are high if you have a lot of political connection. Merit, academics, PhD doesn't matter. So then you can understand the situation, right? So the point is, I had to endure this, but still I wrote the book. You know why? Because I understood that, I figured out, and I was not wrong actually. Because for the last 3 years of my undergraduate program, Bachelor of Science, BSc Honors in Physics, I didn't get the time, apart from my studies and my fellowship, internship projects, and yeah, I got the time to write some blogs, YouTube videos, and this. But I couldn't even think of writing a second book, a new book. This was the academic pressure and all these exams and all. Yeah, no matter how much you hate the convention, just to stay afloat, you still need to give some amount of time. I won't be like those irritating students who claim that I don't study all year and I just study the night before the exam and I top. No, I had to give some effort, give some time to study, even though I didn't like all the subjects, especially electronics. I didn't like electronics at all, but I had to study it as part of my undergraduate. So I didn't even get enough time to sleep properly the night. So if I did not publish this book when I was in my high school, and for the last 2 years of my high school, there was COVID-19 pandemic. So that means I didn't have to go to school. Everything, school was shut down. Everything was online, and I got a lot of free time to explore my interest and write this 360 page long book. So maybe this is not. I was not an expert then. Even today, I am not an expert. I'll be starting my masters in a few days. So I'm not even a PhD. But back then I was a mere high school student, 15 years old. So most people told that if you want to write a book, oh my God. Some people were very skeptical. They were like, I can never, just a wild goose chase. Some people told me you should wait, you should have a PhD, you should become established in your field. Only then your book will be taken seriously. I was like, I don't want people to take my books seriously. I just want to document my thoughts that I'm having at this point of time, because I'm pretty sure that after my bachelor's, masters, during my bachelor's, masters, I will not have enough time to write a book like this. I will not have enough time for that. And after my PhD, when I get a, hopefully if I get a job, because academia is very competitive nowadays, even outside India. So if I get a job, even if I get a job after PhD and all that, the administrative responsibilities, suppose if I become a professor or something, the other responsibilities, I doubt whether I will have the time to write a book. Number one. Number two, Even if I get time, maybe I take a leave for 1 year or something to write a book after my PhD or something. How can I be sure that I will have still this interest in interdisciplinary, like physics, consciousness, and all this, and I will still be able to see these topics like a 15-year-old when once after my PhD. I won't. Then PhD, up to PhD means bachelor's, master's, PhD. I will be trained through a very conventional path, and my mindset, my all these wild ideas will be lost from my mind. So if I hadn't written the book when I was 15 years old, this book would never exist ever, even in the future. I realized that, and that's why I went forward and published a book. Yeah, of course, Penguin didn't publish my book. I mean, it was not a very respected publisher who published this book, but at least this book has given me a lot more than I expected, than I could have asked for. Lot of people emailed me from this book. A lot of people are inspired by this book. Apparently, people I don't even know of from different countries. I have formed some very deep international connections, all because of this book. Even though it's not published by a very popular publisher like Penguin Random House or anything, even then, this book gave me a lot more than I could ask for. And of course, there is always that thing that you can tell to people, oh, I am an author, I wrote a book. Maybe I didn't write a book that isn't published by Penguin or anything, but still I'm an author. You have that, but that's not really like that's more like bragging. That's not the reason I'm saying. But still, I'm glad I published the book, and this is something I'm actually proud of, because not because I published a book when I was 16 years old. That is in itself a very rare achievement. But still, there are some people who do that. But because it's a serious 360 page long popular science book on physics. It's not the usual poetry collections that kids publish today on Amazon KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing. Not that kind of book. That kind of book people can publish in 12 years also. That's not a big deal. Those books are like, okay, you can say to people that, oh, I have a. Those books are published, I think, because, just for this reason, that I can say to people that I have a book published. But this is not just that. This is a serious book. You can, if you want, you can read the book, of course, but I won't ask you to buy the book, because that would be like promoting my book. I won't want to do that. If you want, you can, obviously, it's available on Amazon and everywhere. Internationally, it's available. Not just in India, it's available internationally. In fact, for the last, I was checking my book sales for the month of July. My international sales exceeded my sales from India, actually. Though overall, most of the sales were, I think, from India only. Overall, for the last all the years, overall sales. Anyway, so yeah. And in the end, 21 years in the 21st century, it's a special. It appears like a special intersection in my life, like, a special turning point in my life, and it is actually a turning point, because I'll be like, I just 20. I became 21 and I just finished my Bachelor of Science in Physics. So the next phase in my life will be a more specialized, like, research, masters, PhD, and if things work out, I mean, it's not like a very smooth path. A lot of things can happen, and especially today, the situation in academia is very, very grave, both in India and outside, especially in India, I should say. But yeah, anyway, let's see. And at the end of the day, I also realized there is no justice. The thing I told a lot of time, many times in this video, there is no justice, and people don't care about you. People want you to care, but they don't care about you, consciously or unconsciously. So yeah, let me just finish the video on this last note. It just came back to me, because that's what I was discussing. Those two incidents in college, I told you, right? The first one would try to manipulate me. The second one was not a inherently bad person, it appeared to me, but things didn't work out between us because of that person's attitude. And even after all the help I did, I'm not saying that person never helped me. Compared to the first person, the second person was actually much more nicer, and they also helped me on some occasions. But yeah, nowhere near to what I did for them. But even after that, they their reluctance to understand my point of view and just say that, no, I cannot agree with you because of my self-respect, like they are perfect and I am a flawed human being. This is what the picture they wanted to paint. Of course, I then I ignored, and I've moved on. It's not, I'm not the kind of people that I will try to convince you. If you understand, it's okay. If you're not, because I'm not dependent on you in any way, right? It feels bad maybe that after all the help I gave you did like that. But yeah, I don't think that person feels any kind of remorse, because again, I told you that this entire concept of justice, I find it flawed. So in a way, this was not just, this was not fair for me after all the help I did that. But what I say to myself, it could be worse. I am alive, I am doing well, my life is going, I won't say it's going very well, but it's at least it's going more or less well. That person maybe has took a lot for granted, got a lot for granted, and didn't repay me well for it. But It's okay. I mean, what the worst that can happen is that person maybe we will get a lot of unfair advantage, and that is already true actually, and maybe will become very successful in life. So what? It doesn't matter. I mean, I won't just feel jealous and sad for that, because I have a lot more important stuff to do in life. I have carved out a niche for myself, and I am following a very unconventional path, which maybe it's within the convention, it's maybe not the most successful path, but even then I am happy the way I am. So I think that should be enough for me. But the ending note, the note on which I would like to end this video is that, so what my revenge, my plan of action. The revenge is maybe I don't want to dramatize the event, so I shouldn't use the word revenge. It's not a serious crime in the first place. So it's no question of revenge. But still, you know what I did. So since the first encounter, the first person, which was like, I think, yeah, it was in 2024. It's almost 1 year back. I think a little more than 1 year back. It was in June 2024, and now is August 2025. So it's 1 year 2 months, right? On average, approximately 1 year 2 months. So from then on, in my back of my mind, I had this idea in the sense, I had this, like, instead of feeling sad about all this, what if I started analyzing humans? My initial motto was humans are gas particles. That's what, because that time I was also learning statistical physics in my course, and I suddenly got very interested in statistical physics. Even today, I mean, yeah, I find it very interesting. I mean, in fact, I want to pursue statistical physics only in my masters, in my research in the future. Although prior to StatMech, I was most interested in quantum mechanics probably. But anyway, so that's when I understood this, and from at the back of my mind, there was always this, I should say, this thought, or maybe this dream, that maybe someday I can understand human behavior mathematically. I can build a theory, a physics theory, not a psychology, like not a text, not a qualitative description. In psychology, there are already a lot of theories about human behavior, but my dream was to reduce human behavior and human emotions to equations I can trust. It's not like any theory with a lot of exceptions, that psychology or chemistry kind of thing, inorganic chemistry full of exceptions. No, physics equation. Now, has that dream been fulfilled? Of course not. Maybe that's impossible in its true sense, because humans are very complex. Even if it's possible in principle, I think in practice it will always remain impossible to accurately model human behavior using a mathematical model. But I recently published a paper. You can check it out on my ResearchGate and other, I think, Orchid, Google Scholar, whatever. Published a paper. Got some very good response also from some like prominent researchers across the world, and one PhD student also, anyway. And some some like calls for collaboration. I mean, it was overall, it was accepted in a positive spirit by the scientific community, by those who read it, and a lot of people read it actually. Uh, so basically, I published a paper on, I used nonlinear dynamics to model the emotions and relationship between two individuals. So the biggest drawback of the model is that it is not realistic, because it is realistic within its limitations, but it only applies to two individuals who know each other. So it's not like if you talk about a celebrity and a fan. The fan knows the celebrity, but the celebrity does not know the fan personally. This model will not work. But otherwise, between any two individuals, this model will work. Now, there is a very good. If you have read Steven Strogat's book, the book on nonlinear dynamics and chaos, famous book by Steven Strogatz. There, I don't remember exact page number or chapter, but there was a small part on love affairs. I think Juliet and Romeo, like using nonlinear equations and matrix to model the love between two persons. That was a very idealistic model, like very simple and like not at all realistic, because there the assumption was that both the person, like it was a kind of symmetric relationship, which is not true in general. In real life, we get to see a lot of cases when it's a kind of toxic relationship, like one person cares a lot for the other person, but the other person almost doesn't care. So it's asymmetric, it's not the equal amount of love. Or even a lot of see, between in my model, for instance, there are 144 different scenarios that I can address using only my set of equations, all that same equations, not different equations for different scenarios. So there can be, in my model, even in my model, I, just to keep things simple, I had some assumptions and all, obviously. But between two individuals, there could be 144 different scenarios. Why? Because see, first of all, there are a lot of parameters. In my model is basically a set of 4 coupled nonlinear differential equations, and these are not ODEs, these are stochastic differential equations. So there is a noise term, and that noise is kind of at every time steps when I'm doing the simulations, I'm using RK4 method, Range Kutta 4 method. It's a very good, very widely used solver in Python, in the integrator basically, because to solve, to get a solution of your parameter, of your variable in the differential equation, you have to integrate it. And these nonlinear differential equations are very complicated. Like, it's not always possible to solve it by hand, not the usual differential equations you are doing in your high school, right? So then we use this Python, these integrators and all. Now RK4 is a deterministic solver, but my equation is not deterministic because there is a noise term, and that is random. Random in the sense because at every time step when I'm doing the simulation, maybe I'm doing it for 100 time step, 1000, whatever, at every time step the noise is chosen randomly. I have specified the mean is 0 because it's not a biased noise, it's an unbiased noise. And I've specified the standard deviation. And in my case I used time decaying noise, which made bit more complicated, but yeah, that's about it. But this noise is chosen randomly. So just stochastic influence is there in my equations. So basically I have 4 coupled nonlinear differential equations. The 2 of the equations are basically, there are 4 variables. That's why there are 4 equations, and the equations are basically the time derivatives of these variables. Ei dt equals to some terms. So ei is the emotional state of individual I. If it's positive, that means individual I is happy. If it's negative, it's sad. Now we didn't actually we defined emotions in a range -1 to +1. -1 to 0 means negative emotions could be like something like jealousy, sadness, anger, whatever. Intensity, if it's -9, that means -0.9, that's very high intensity negative emotion. -0.1, slightly negative emotions. Same for 0 to 1, 0 to +1, it's positive emotions. So ei is the emotional state of I, ej is the emotional state of j. There are 2 individuals, I and j. I told you it's only between 2 individuals. So we have 2 equations, dei dt and dej dt, and the terms. Now this is a model I built. I didn't take help of any existing work. I only took help from some psychology papers. Like those papers, there was not a single equation in those papers. Those are like empirical studies being done on subjects, on humans, and then some psychological observations. Like over time, emotions happen. This. So by looking at a lot of psychological papers, that is what helped me to decide how should I model the terms of the equations to capture realistic psychological behavior. Like, because in real humans, emotions faster, like very intense emotions decay slowly, then very less intense emotions decay quickly. If you suppose you go out and see a person begging in the roadside, maybe for a few seconds you feel very sad for him, but that emotion does not usually last long because you don't know the beggar personally. But if you go out in the road today and you meet with your, let's say, with your old friend, like at one point of time in your past you were very much attracted or attached to that person, but then there was no connection. If it's after a long time you meet, then that emotional response will be much more stronger and it will remain for a longer time. So how to mathematically capture this? So you have to define a term like this. There should be a decay, but when faster decay, when weak decay. So this is an example. There are a lot of features that to capture, not just emotional decay. It's also like relationship influence, if you're feeling, and many more things. So even within 2 humans, the situation is very complicated. So that's how I defined the 2 equations for emotions, dei dt and dej dt. Then I have a term called rij, which is the relationship between I and j, and rij means how I feels about j, and rji is how j feels about I. So drij dt and drji dt. So 4 coupled nonlinear differential equations, and they're coupled equation means because in the equation for drij dt in the terms there is ei and ej. In the equation for dei dt there is rij. So this is a coupled system, because obviously if it's even between 2 individuals, how I feel for that individual will affect how they feel for us, and it will also slightly affect my emotional state and their emotional state. But this influence usually decays, but it's all connected, right? It's not like we humans are not we don't compartmentalize emotions and feelings. Emotions and feelings are different actually. Emotions is what you have inside you. It's your internal emotions. So the noise in the emotion comes from your hormonal fluctuations, your mood swings, this kind of thing. But the noise in your feelings come from your external parameters. How suppose you love that person but they misbehave with you, your feelings. So feeling is how you feel for others, and emotion is kind of like self-feeling, if I put it roughly. But it's all connected. It's not like we compartmentalize emotions and feelings. Okay, my feelings will be, we just a single unit, like we operate as a single unit, single consciousness. So these are the 4 equations, and then there could be 144 different cases between 2 humans in my model I told you. Because see, maybe individual I and j, maybe I likes j also likes I, but by a lesser amount. That is one possibility. Under this possibility, there could be even many more possibility. Maybe I likes j and is happy, but j hates I by a stronger intensity, and j is also happy, or j is sad. I mean, if you combine all of these possibilities, you will get 144 cases. And then I defined a 5th equation. This is not part of the model. The model is just 4 nonlinear coupled differential equations. The fifth equation is actually just I defined by hand. I named it the global emotional order parameter. So it captures in all of these 144 cases, the single equation, it's actually a nonlinear, of course, a nonlinear equation. It captures the overall emotional alignment between two individuals, whether it's positive or negative. It doesn't really depend on, it depends on the initial condition, but it tells about the overall emotional alignment between two individuals. And there is noise in my equation, so I took into account the external societal effects and all, but strictly the model is between two people only. And within this framework, it's a pretty successful model. I won't say successful because this is a very vague at this point. I'm still doing the bifurcation analysis, fixed point analysis, but successful in the sense this emotional alignment parameter, it works for all the 144 cases, and that is something I'm really satisfied in my model. Otherwise, the numerical simulations, the attractor behavior, the phase plots, the time colored phase plots, they show some interesting unexpected behavior which match with real psychological data. But at this point, I've not done real curve fitting anything. Anyway, I've talked a lot about this video, about my model. Let me just finish the video because this video is not supposed to be a technical discussion, in which maybe I'll do a future video about my emotional model. But the point is, this work I did independently, not under any supervisor or anything. Okay, now the point is, I should actually thank those two persons who misbehaved with me even after I helped them, because that is when I tried to, instead of channeling my little bit of disappointment and much of my anger, instead of channeling them in a negative way, that oh my god, why did they do this, let me get depressed and all, let me pick up a fight with them, I didn't do any of those. I channeled it in a creative way. Okay, they did this to me, so let me just try to make friendships with a few more people and see what actually happens, and let me try to analyze if there's a pattern in human behavior. So I formed some qualitative ideas even for the past one. I told you, like, this is 1 year this is happening. I formed, but only recently, after I worked on my internship at the Institute of Mathematical Sciences, Chennai, that was a little different topic, nothing to do with emotions. That was a topic on computational biophysics. But then, when I was working on that, in the back of my mind, I was like, oh my god! So these techniques, these methods, I can actually use this to build my own model at least try to do it, that can capture the emotion and relationship and everything between two individuals. So yeah, and then it suddenly fell into place, and I just did all of this in the last 1 month. It didn't take me long. Okay, this entire emotional model, it actually took me 20 days strictly, but yeah, if you say from day one the idea came to my mind, and day one all the writing and draft and simulation, maybe a 1 month. Yeah, not more than 1 month, definitely. Mainly the month of July I was involved in this thing. And for that, my actual internship report is not yet submitted to the institute, which is a very bad thing. I need to do that immediately before my master's start. But it's a good thing, because it's a kind of a good work I kind of did in 1 month in my break between my BSc and my masters. So it's kind of like, you can think of it like it's my revenge. You misbehaved with me, and I reduced your entire human emotions and behavior into mere equations. I'm saying this in a overly dramatic way, but it's not actually true, because my model is very limited. There are a lot of assumptions and limitations. It's still better than most existing models, because I assumed many different scenarios, like even asymmetric relationship influences noise and everything. But of course, a lot of work needs to be done, and I have plans to make this model, extend the model beyond two humans, although that will be notoriously difficult. In nonlinear dynamics, right, if you have three body problem, even now the model is very complicated. The number of parameters and four nonlinear equations, very complicated even in its present form. But I mean, at least I laid the groundwork. If I'm lucky, maybe in future I can extend the model, or even make the current model much more realistic, much more. Anyway, so one more thing I realized is that it's a very interesting. Humans are like gas particles. Overall, if you study the entire system of humans, you will see many statistical. It's not surprising, because statistical physics starts with some logical assumptions. It doesn't assume anything physics, like quantum physics and relativity starts with physics assumptions, electromagnetic theory and all. Relativity builds on this conflict between classical physics, Newton's mechanics and electromagnetic theory, two pillars of classical physics. But statistical physics, it starts with some basic logical postulates, like ergodic hypothesis. It doesn't tell anything about physics, atoms, electrons, charge of an electron, mass, nothing. It just says that for a system with many parts, a large system, complex system, the time average should be equal to the ensemble average. That's all. It's a very logical assumption if you think about it. Then for a system in equilibrium, the postulate of equal apparent probabilities, all the microstates corresponding to a given macrostate are equally likely. That's again a logical assumptions. It's not specific to any gas particle. So these principles of statistical physics apply not just to gas particles but also to any system with large number of interacting parts, even humans. It's not really surprising if you think about it. It is very beautiful that we can from this assumption we can build a theory from where we can get all of our such a successful theory, such a useful framework. You can derive PV equals to nRT, all these thermodynamic potentials, free energy. You can do all of this using StatMech. In thermodynamics, whatever has been taught to you as like laws and postulates, actually you can all derive it in using StatMech, right? It's very fundamental. But yeah, that's what I was saying. And at the end of the day, nobody cares about you. Even we, in most cases, you also don't care about. If you do, that means you are a weak. I mean, that means you should change yourself, because today the world today is like it's not that kind of world where your kindness is rewarded. I'm being very honest, because there is no justice. So you have to, when required, you have to be firm. You have to be, even you have to be a little selfish at times. You have to snatch what you deserve. Nobody will give it to you for free. Okay, and you have to do it in time. I'm reminded of this Latin phrase, omnes valerant ultima necat, which it is Latin word. It means that every second, as time passes, every second of your life inflicts you with small injuries, small wounds, and the last second kills you. The last wound kills you. Obviously, the before your death, your last second is your. That's why it's called the last second, because you die the next second. There is no nothing after. That's why it's the last second. So it's just a reminder, serves as a reminder to our mortality, and like we are all like we have a limited amount of time in this world. So it's up to us to make the most out of it, and not spend it on other people who refuse to accept us, or who don't like us. Because always remember that if you hate someone, that means in all likelihood, maybe not in 100% of the cases, but in all likelihood, in most cases, there is some reason for hating. Your mind has identified something wrong with that person. But if you like someone, in many cases it will just be your instinct, your desire to like. That person is actually not likable. So it's always good to treat these things with very much caution, and always safeguard your own interests. That's what I mean. Because after Dicey today, there are a lot of people who are like my juniors at college, my colleagues at the journal, or even my friends, even some of my like other acquaintances. They're like, they praise me and all. Arpan, you are very good, you inspire me. Some, not just they inspire me, some people actually, they're like, no, I actually care about you. You don't know what you did for me. You mean so, you are so special. I'm pretty I am very much certain that if I were to die today or tomorrow or recently, all it would take for them to forget that someone called Arpan, they even existed, it would be like maybe 1 or 2 hours. For my parents and a few close ones, maybe it would be a little longer. But see, I'm not blaming them. This is the way life is. This is the reality. They don't like me, they don't respect me, they respect my profile, they respect my achievements, they respect these like journal of young physicists I founded, they respect this thing and all. These are like tangible achievements. They don't respect me as a person, they don't even understand me as a person. So all of these sweet words which some of they tell me, and I don't know what they tell me behind my back, I don't want to know also. I'm pretty sure it would take only 1 hour or 2 hours maximum for them to forget me the moment I die. So that's why I don't maybe at one point of time I used to, but right now I don't set much store by all these emotions and everything, love emotions or whatever you want to call it. I'm like, no, I understand human nature, and I believe there is no justice. So it's best to just do my own thing and not harm anyone, but again not get too attached to anyone as well. So these are a few of my realizations, because I am 21 years old and this is the 21st century. So yeah, I'm not saying that the stars suddenly aligned. Oh my God, 21 years old, 21st century. So what? It would happen. So I mean, in the past century, so 20 would be the special number. 20 years old, 20th century. It just goes on. That's all these century age years. Humans have defined them. But yeah, I still thought of making the video. So my first 21 years in the 21st century, if you ask me to summarize in a single word, I would not say happy. I would not say sad. I would say eventful. Yeah, there were a lot of positives, there were a lot of comebacks, there were a lot of so-called sigma moments. Today's generation is sigma moment. What is your sigma moment? And there were also a lot of failures, there were also a lot of tears, also a lot of realizations, also a lot of downhill moments as well. But yeah, I should say in one word, eventful. It's very eventful, and I'm still trying to make sense of it all, but I don't know what lies in the future. But yeah, so far this is some things I shared, not everything, but some things I learned in the first 21 years of my life. And yeah, so I just lived 21 years in the 21st century, and not just I, all people of my age. It's true for you as well. What do you make of that? Let me know in the comments. Thank you.